Hello and welcome back to my multi-part Ouya review. In this installment, I'm talking about the Neo-Geo Pocket Color emulator for Ouya. In 1999, SNK released the Neo-Geo Pocket Color as a direct competitor to Nintendo's Game Boy Color. The Neo-Geo Pocket Color was a 16-bit handheld with an 8-bit graphics core that allowed it to produce much better visuals than what the Game Boy Color could do. It also had SNK's famous lineup of fighting games and Metal Slug and a few other games. It also got Sega on board to produce some absolutely fantastic little games. But unfortunately, this was at the height of the Pokemon craze, and despite SNK's best efforts, there was no stopping the Game Boy Color, and when Pokemon Gold and Silver were released, the Neo Geo was all but dead, and the Neo Geo Pocket Color was standing on its last legs as well. And then shortly after that, SNK folded in North America, and the system then became history. Now, for those who have never played a Neo Geo Pocket Color, the thing had a really awesome little analog click stick that was sort of halfway between an analog stick and a D-pad. There's really no explaining it rather than just having to play it yourself. So if anyone's curious about seeing these games in action, I encourage you guys, go pick up a Neo Geo Pocket. They're not that expensive, and it's a really awesome little handheld. Alright, with all that said, let's boot this up. The Neo Geo Pocket emulator is the same revision as all the other ones, 1.5.12. This emulator is pretty flawless, but it does have some slight blemishes that, need to be worked out. So let's boot up a game. First game I'm going to boot up is one that's absolutely excellent, and that is Sonic Pocket Adventure. Now, Sonic Pocket Adventure was essentially Neo Geo's, was essentially Sega's first really excellent portable game for the Neo Geo Pocket. This is basically the spiritual successor to all their efforts on the Game Gear. What you got here is a game that is better than any other 8-bit Sonic game ever produced. And I guess that's because it's using the power of the Neo Geo Pocket, and it's remixing levels taken from other Sonic games, in particular the Genesis-era Sonic games. Although most of the content here is simply recycled from past Sonic games, this is still something that's very worthwhile and fast and just excellent. So this is Emerald Hill Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Running faster and better than any of the Game Gear Sonics. And also when you lose your rings, the rings fly out, unlike the Master System and Game Gear Sonic games. Love this game. Not being able to use the Ouya controller, or not being able to use the Neo Geo Pocket as the controller is something that is a little bit of a pain, so I'm thinking what I might do for a future project is see if I can buy, a broken Neo Geo Pocket Color and mod it to be just a controller. I don't know how feasible that would be. I have to look into the hardware. But if it's possible, man, playing this emulator with an actual Neo Geo Pocket as the emulator would be really cool. Whoops. Alright, enough of that, let's move on. Another game that's great is SNK vs. Capcom. Match of the Millennium. This is probably the best game for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. This allows you to play as SNK characters or Capcom characters. I'm gonna play as Sakura here. Sakura versus Athena. Who would have ever guessed it possible? Battle of the Century. And the characters play just like they would in, you know, any of the Marvel vs. Capcom games. This might not look that impressive, but man, is this a fun game. Alright, moving on. Another game that's great for the system is another very similar fighting game. You're gonna boot up Gal's Fighter. Play as Athena here. Now, of course, this is SNK and, you know, the Neo-Geo, so of course, the bulk of the games for the system are fighting games. This one is like a really cute, just parody of the King of Fighters games. It's so much a fighter parody that the main fighting mode is called Queen of Fighters, as this game only features female characters. Next, we're going to show a different game, the other thing that SNK was known for, and that was, of course, Metal Slug. There were 2 Metal Slug games released for the Neo-Geo Pocket, and they were both really quite good. Now, one of the problems with this emulator is, unfortunately, this emulator does not support the Neo-Geo Pocket's infamous voice samples that it had. And the voice samples are, you know, pretty important in Metal Slug games, as they, you know, will announce that you picked up things like heavy machine gun, you know, or rocket launcher. Without that, you know, this is, you know, just a fairly, you know, fun shoot-'em-up game. Also, this one gives you a life bar, and so you don't die in a single hit. Making it, you know, far more playable than the arcade games, which are just, you know, meant to milk for your quarters. Oh, I died anyway. Well, let's retry that, because that wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, this time I started with the heavy machine gun. Picked up the heavy machine gun, but you don't get the voice sample. So hopefully that will be fixed over time. But otherwise, fantastic little game here. Like most of the other emulators for Ouya, this allows you to, you know, do things that's just change the aspect ratio, or, you know, put on, if you so wanted, you could put on like a filter to make the visuals look like Vaseline. Let's see, what else is there to say? You know, you can change the controls, save states, all that good stuff. Alright, enough of this. Let's try something else. Another game that's great for Ouya, or I mean, the Neo-Geo Pocket Color, is Cotton Fantastic Night Dreams. This is a port of the arcade and PC Engine classic shoot-'em-up, Cotton. Now, we all know the story for this, so let's just move on. Now, because of its relatively short life between 1999 to, you know, early 2001, the system does not have that many games. I'd say that there are probably only about 30 games worthwhile for the system, which is really a shame because this thing really had a lot of promise. It just, you know, died out early because the Pokemon craze, and then the Game Boy Advance came out, and then at that point the system was obsolete, and, you know, too bad, right? Alright, well, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time with another emulator review. So, later.